Hi, my name's Rick, and I hate streaming. So come with me as I discover and rediscover vinyl. Highway to Hell by AC/DC. So Highway to Hell is probably the most commercially successful album by AC/DC. And that's what I thought for a long time. And then it turns out it's actually Back in Black. And it's kind of interesting because I'd been an AC/DC fan for years, when they first came out. I can remember when the first AC/DC album came out. It was around the same time as the first Van Halen album came out. And I remember listening to the local radio station. It was either KOME or KSJO back in the day. And they had a disc jockey who said, coming up next, we're going to have a playoff. It's going to be AC/DC versus Van Halen. So of course, what did I do? I popped a cassette tape in my cassette deck and I set up to tape it. And they played off each other, one song, then the other, one song, then the other, back and forth. And at the end of that, kind of looked like AC/DC won. The band AC/DC was formed in 1973 by brothers Angus and Malcolm Young. This album came out in 1977. This was actually the sixth studio album by AC/DC. However, in the United States, it was only the fourth. You see, Atlantic Records was not real happy with AC/DC. They felt like they just weren't going to make it in an American market and refused to actually release some of their albums in America. So what they did is they said, hey, we want you to work with a different producer and try to be a little more radio friendly, where we can appeal to more people and you can sell more records. So Atlantic provided a producer for them. Previously, all the albums before this one had been produced by Angus and Malcolm's older brother, George. They were kind of ticked off that the record label was forcing them to a new producer. And when they actually met the guy, they didn't like him. So there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of mad people. And anyhow, what they did is they ended up hiring Mutt Lange. Mutt Lange was a pretty famous dude. He actually produced Def Leppard. He produced, I think, some Aerosmith stuff. He was a big-time producer. And what he did is he taught AC/DC how to be more radio-friendly. Some people describe AC/DC as a hard rock band. Others describe them as a heavy metal band. And yet some even call them a blues band. If you were to ask the band themselves, they would say, hey, we're just a rock and roll band. I read something that is talking about an interview that Angus gave. And in the interview, the interviewer said, Angus, people say that you have 7 records that all sound exactly the same. And Angus looked at him and said, that's not true. We have 8 albums that all sound exactly the same. And there's kind of some truth to that. All of AC/DC seems to be based around normal blues and traditional blues chords and style. AC/DC, though, has something most bands don't have. They have the sexual innuendo that kind of permeates through all of their songs. Side 1 of this album starts out with the title track, Highway to Hell, followed by The Girl's Got Rhythm, followed by Walk All Over You, then goes into Touch Too Much, and ends up on side 1 with Beating Around the Bush. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs on the first side. This is a little bit different for AC/DC. However, the songs are timed just long enough to be radio friendly. We flip the album over, and on side 2, it starts out with Shot Down in Flames, followed by Get It Hot, followed by If You Want Blood, You Got It, followed by Love Hungry Man, and probably the most controversial song on the album, Night Prowler. Now, the reason Night Prowler is so controversial is because of its ties to the serial killer Richard Ramirez. So the tie between Richard Ramirez and the song Night Prowler is kind of a weird one. Richard Ramirez was a brutal serial killer, and he was operating in the LA area, and he was responsible for 15 brutal murders, several rapes. And what he would do is he would cut the screens and climb through the window. And he would do these atrocities. This was in 1985, and I can remember in 1985 there were some rumors that he was even headed up to the Bay Area, and there was some kind of a tie to the Bay Area. I can remember there being a lot of fear in the neighborhood and everybody locking their windows, locking their doors down. I guess at one of the sites, he left an AC/DC hat, and when he was arrested, he was wearing an AC/DC shirt. And supposedly, Night Prowler was his favorite song. When interviewed about it, AC/DC said that, hey, the song wasn't about anything satanic. It was about some guy sneaking in his girlfriend's bedroom window at night to come visit her while her parents were sleeping. Of the 10 songs on this record, there are 3 that are my favorites. And surprise, Highway to Hell isn't one of them. My favorite songs are A Touch Too Much, Night Prowler, and my favorite song on this album is The Girl's Got Rhythm. And so what do I think of this record? 2 thumbs up. It's a great rock and roll album. Every single song has a driving beat, a searing guitar, and the AC/DC sexual innuendos. I definitely recommend this record, and if you're building a vinyl collection like I am, this is a must-have record. So if you like what I'm doing, go ahead and give me thumbs up by hitting the like button. And if you really like me, please hit the subscribe button, because I sure could use a couple subscribers on the channel. If you don't like me, go ahead and put a comment or tell me off in the comment section below. I'll read it and respond appropriately. Thanks. Have a great day.